And so for tonight, I'm going to be the doctor, and Cher is going to be the cook, not the cook, the chef, the raw food gourmet chef. And I've heard wonderful things about this, and I'm looking forward to it. So just a couple of announcements before we get started. We do have sign-in sheets there where you came in. I think most of you already signed those. If you didn't, you might want to put your name and your contact information. We will probably send out an email ahead of the next installment of this series. The plan is it's going to be the third Tuesday night of each month, and we're going to try to be regular with that. I already had some people tell me, well, but the third Tuesday we're going to be in El Salvador, and the third Tuesday of the next month we're in something else. I'm like, I don't care. Because if we change it every time, then it's not going to be regular. We're going to try to make it regular so people can plan ahead and just expect the third Tuesday of each month there will be something here. There'll be some kind of food, and there'll be some kind of good information and a chance to kind of get together and socialize and encourage each other a little bit. So you might ask, why the third Tuesday? Well, that was one day when it seems like there's fewer things happening than most other days. And also, the first Sunday of each month, we have another health-related event. We call it Sunday Support. I don't know, that's the best name we came up with, so Sunday Support. But what that is, 8 o'clock Sunday morning, we meet here downstairs in the the youth room. We meet at 8 o'clock and we work out, don't we? We work up a good sweat, exercise, and I write the exercise, the workout, so it's different. So far it's been a different thing every month. At some point I'm going to start repeating some of the things so that you get to measure your progress. But we work out for about 20 minutes or so, stretch a little bit, so that goes for about a half hour, and then we have a potluck whole food vegan breakfast. And so people can bring things. We want it plant-based, ideally as much as possible whole foods and vegan, and bring a recipe so that you can share. So if you find things out in the wild there that you like, recipes you find off the internet, and you try them out, the ones that don't work out, don't bring them. But the ones that are like, we do this. Oh, this is really good. We're going to keep this one. And so it gets copied and put into you know what I'm talking about, the recipe collection. So those ones you want to bring and share them with other people. And we could swap recipes. And so that's just another opportunity to kind of get together, to have fun, to encourage each other. And we can actually see who works out and who doesn't. Yeah, but it's okay. It's all good. It's to be encouraging, and I think it is for the most part. The people that have come to it have been really pleased with it for the most part. So that's the first Sunday at 8 o'clock, and then the third Tuesday at 6 o'clock in the evening we have this. So they're a little different, but they do kind of overlap a little bit. So you can just plan for those. Write them in your schedule, and we'll look to see you there. So if you all show up for the workout, I'll be surprised, but it'll be a good workout. It'll be awesome. Okay. Now, for tonight, we have, as we were thinking about this, we're trying to plan a series of things. There's going to be different people presenting different styles of food, but the emphasis is going to be, again, whole food, plant-based type meals. And today is all raw food. And so we're not advocating that everybody should eat 100% raw all the time, but I can almost guarantee that all of us in this room would do better if we ate more whole raw foods. And so we're going to have some really good examples, and I would encourage you to listen carefully and see how you can move in that direction, and that's really going to be a good thing for your health. And I think it's going to be yummy, judging by what I saw going on in there. And so I've probably already talked too much, but I wanted to set the tone for us here. And Beth Stevenson, she is going to be our MC for the rest of the evening. So I'll turn it over to her, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you for starting us off on the
turning
right foot.
this as
everything.
well.
Okay. Well, and I heard we're getting, okay, I'm getting signals from people who know about technology. I see. 2 different mics. Okay, got it. Okay, so I've been hearing about going to get plates. Can you clarify when we're going? Are we going first before we start demoing, I assume? Okay, I think that we should, vote. Eat first or lecture first? Oh, nobody's hungry here. Okay, we're gonna start with food because it's ready and the plates are beautiful back there. Let's have a word of prayer. I'd like to just start as we're settling into seats and as we're settling our hearts and minds from the day that we've just been through. I'd like you to stop and just count 3 blessings. When you've got them, hold up your 3. Sorry, I'm a first grade teacher. It works for all ages. 3 things that have been a blessing today. Hold it up and then we're going to lift that up to God.
3 good things today.
Oh, they're coming up quickly. Some of you are very experienced with recognizing when God has blessed you during the day. All right. We've pretty much all gotten there. If you're still working on it, that's okay. We're going to pray for you too. Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, what a privilege it is to gather together for the same purposes, the purposes of knowing things about our health and our food that would help us to live better and more actively for you. And also just to gather together as people who love you and love each other, and that we can share in the blessings from the day. So I pray as we get the food that you would bless the hands that prepared it, that you would bless the words that are said tonight, but most of all, that you would open our hearts to hear what you have for us, that you would also open our hearts to each other, that as we build community here, we will be able to embrace more of your ideal for us in every part of our lives. In Jesus' name we ask, amen. I hear a lot of describing of what you're tasting. We've discovered that the 2 beautiful girls over here, one of them, their favorite color is purple, so there's something she really likes on the plate. All right, is there anyone would you put up your hand if there's something you're needing? If this flatware hasn't made it to you, or something else that you're needing, just put up your hand. We're about done serving. All right. As you're enjoying tasting, take your time. You know, the first time you try something, you won't usually like it as well as you will the 3rd or 4th time. So openness with your taste buds is really important as you try new things. Something else, I think personally they shouldn't have told you that it was all raw, because when I eat Cher's cooking, a lot of times I'm amazed. Some of it seems raw because it's salads, and other things are surprising. I have one of her recipes for caramel apple pie that no one believes me that I did not bake it in the oven. It is one of my favorite recipes to take to potlucks and such. All right. Are you ready? Okay, I'm going to start telling you a little bit about our guest speaker, presenter, and demonstrator this evening. Cher Rudy has been at this for a long time. In fact, you might be impressed to know that she won a contest one time, won the first prize for one of her recipes, but the contest wasn't for raw food. It was just for food. And still with her healthy recipe, she came out number 1, and it was printed in one of our larger local newspapers. So Cher has been at this a long time experimenting. If you're ever at her house, she always has dehydrators or something going with her experiments. She loves what she does. She started doing it for her family, I believe, and now we coax her to share with the community and beyond. So I would like you to welcome with me Cher Rudy, our presenter for the evening. Cher chose the recipes and planned your meal for tonight and prepared it with her assistants. Do you need to get behind me? And now just 3 of the recipes that are involved in what's going on your plate are going to be demonstrated so that you have a little idea. So if you didn't get the recipe sheet, would you raise your hand and I'll get that and bring it to you as Cher begins to tell you about them.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth.
I keep forgetting.
I have one right here. Do I need to? Okay. It's a privilege to be here. How do you like your food?
Very delicious.
Yeah. So, you know, sometimes when people say raw, they think it's a green salad. So I wanted to show you tonight that it's
challenge people that need you to speak.
It's, I just wanted to show you tonight that it can be very diversified. You know, I've made anything from pizza crust to bread to, many desserts, many delicious desserts. And I just wanted to let you know that tonight you're eating Asian, the spicy Thai salad, Mediterranean with the tabbouleh. How many have had a tabbouleh before? Good. Let me tell you about this tabbouleh.
Quinoa.
I put quinoa in it instead of bulgur wheat because bulgur wheat, well, some people just can't eat wheat. So I decided to make it gluten-free. So that's why it looked like it turned out really well. When I tasted it, it tasted really, really good. So your third one is, you know, how do you like the dessert? That little, you get that little dessert. Look. Well, I was experimenting one day, and I said, I need something to take to the pickleball courts when I go to play pickleball, and instead of buying them. So I just started experimenting, and I come up with that. It's way better than the ones that you can buy in the store.
Okay, so they love it all. What's the first one you're going to tell us how to make?
Check this.
Oh, I'm sorry. The first one is going to be the first one is going to be the.
That name is different. You're all set.
Yeah, sorry. It's going to be the taco meat, okay? One of the things when I started eating healthy was I really missed the taco salads, really, really bad. So I found this taco meat. It's very simple. Put it in this little food processor, and you're done, and it's very delicious. So I'm going to just show you. So whenever you have any nuts, always soak them, and then you can soak them sometimes 3 hours, sometimes overnight. And some nuts need soaking a little bit more than others. But walnuts, what happens to walnuts when you soak them, it releases an enzyme that, you know, sometimes people say that walnuts taste bitter. Well, if you soak them, then you rinse that water, and then you rehydrate them. Dehydrate them. I put them in my dehydrator. You can put them in your oven. So, and then it takes away that bitterness. So it's going to be the taco meat.
Can you use pecans instead of walnuts?
Yeah, you can use any kind of nut that you like. Yeah. So there's the taco seasoning. It's below. Let me tell you, that is a game changer. If you ever go in the grocery store, taco seasoning usually has a lot of bad stuff in it if you read the ingredients. So there's a little cayenne, a little tamari, coriander, cumin, and looks like I got an extra one. I pulse a lot. You just pulse it because you don't want your nuts to be really fine. So you just pulse them in your food processor. There you go, and you're done. Okay?
Recipe number 1, are we impressed? Yes. Did anybody time that?
The next one's going to be a tabbouleh. So I'll tell you what, when I make it at home, no. When I make tabbouleh at home, one thing about parsley is you have to wash it really well because there's a lot of sand in it. I went to a restaurant one time, ordered a tabbouleh. This is a Middle Eastern restaurant, and let me tell you, it was gritty. We sent it back, they brought another one back, and it was gritty. So somebody tried to cut corners and didn't wash it. So depending on, just pulse it in your, you can actually use a knife and just cut it. You don't have to put it in a food processor, but I love my food processor. So I've already put it in the food processor. So I like lots of veggies. This isn't traditional for a tabbouleh salad, but I've just changed it up. I add lots of veggies. I made it for the quinoa for you guys. I don't usually put even quinoa in mine. And of course the tomatoes. You can use green onion, you can use sweet onion, and a little mint. If you don't use mint in it, it just doesn't get the right taste. You just have to have mint. A little lemon, lime. This is what I always do. 2 limes to 1 lemon. So I usually at home, I always use two bunches. I don't make it unless I always use 2 bunches, and that's the consistency, and it always seems to be great.
By bunches, are you meaning the parsley?
Mm-hmm, the bunches of parsley. And I just drizzle a little bit of olive oil in there because I don't really like the taste of olive oil too much, but that's what I do. My sister, first time she had my tabbouleh, she's like, wow, this is really great. And so I just have been making my tabbouleh that way for years.
My husband is not a green lover. If it's green, it's probably not on his top 10 list of favorite foods. But tabbouleh is something that it has that mixture of so many seasonings and other flavors that he will sit down and eat an entire plate and not want anything else for his dinner. And he's getting all that parsley.
By putting quinoa is alkaline to the body. It's an alkaline food, so by putting quinoa in it, also it helps it to feel more filling.
So she's referring to what foods do in our body, the way they're burned. And an easy way to remember is most of the foods that aren't very good for us are acid, and they cause us to have more toward the acid in our blood.
Yeah.
So by eating these, they balance out to where the body isn't set up for disease and inflammation.
Yeah.
It does the opposite.
And there you go.
So parsley, if you eat 1 chopped cup, you get half a gram of fat. But guess how much fiber? Would you think? I always think of green leaves as having the vitamins, but not the fiber. Guess how much fiber is in 1 cup of parsley? 2 grams. It's as much as a very healthy slice of bread, a very healthy bread. I mean, you don't often think of green leaves that way, but it's got a good amount of fiber. It also has almost 2 grams of protein. Do you think, boy, I haven't had enough protein today, I better get some green leaves? But it's in there, and it's in a good amount. Parsley is known for aiding the body in 13 ways, benefiting the health. I'm going to go through them quickly.
Yes.
Strengthening the bones, boosting brain health, improving eye health, helps to regulate blood sugar, so anyone who's headed toward or is diabetic, enhancement of healthy hair growth, serves as a rich source of antioxidants, relieves symptoms of anemia, so that would be low iron levels, has antibacterial effects. Is that not amazing? It's a little bit like taking a mild dose of antibiotic. Parsley is full of vitamins. It improves kidney health, aids in digestion, aids in heart health, and enhances liver health. All those little green leaves that you just ate and loved.
So,
all right, we have
one more thought about parsley is, you know, in the Middle East, you know, it's eaten all the time in the Middle East. Do you see very many people in the Middle East wearing glasses? You know, you don't really see that a lot. So, just a thought. So, it'll make you want to eat it more like once a week, huh? Yeah. Okay. The next demonstration is going to be this cheese sauce that you guys ate.
This is probably one of the most versatile recipes that you could have. It's a plant-based cheese sauce. And Sherry's brought you a recipe tonight that is very creamy and mild. So those of you that don't like the extra seasoning, there are other things you can add to it. But this one's going to be very mild, other than what's the punch that you're going to pack?
Well, some of the cheese sauces that are out there, those recipes, come with nutritional yeast. They call for nutritional yeast, and a lot of people can't eat nutritional yeast.
Some people are allergic.
So I love this one. And listen, as many times as I've made this recipe, it's turned out perfect every time. I've never had it not turn out. So I love that.
The amazing thing about cashews is they thicken. They are beautifully thickened.
Yeah.
Very creamy, thick sauce.
And you can soak your cashews like even overnight. If you soak them even overnight, it just softens them and it makes them more creamy in your recipes.
Do you use raw or roasted?
The question is whether she uses raw or roasted cashews.
Raw. Raw. So here it is. I'm just going to turn this around. In my blender, I always put the stuff that's the softest first. That would be the liquid. I'm just going to put this. The liquid, the bell pepper, and I think I got it, and a little bit. Now, you know, Himalaya pink salt, that's what I use now. I used to use sea salt, now I just use Himalaya pink salt. Okay?
And the reason for that is the high mineral content. Those minerals that we need just trace amounts every day.
So, here it is.
Here's where you want to have a good blender.
I need the thingy, the
Tamper.
Okay. So we usually have a tamper and it goes down into this little hole, but I don't have it. It keeps it down into the blade and it just keeps it moving. So we'll improvise. And you can add a little bit more liquid if you need to.
And this thing is it's going to thicken even if you have to add a little more.
Yeah.
And if you have the type of blender that's a really high-speed, heavy-duty blender, by the time you're done getting it nice and creamy, it'll be hot. You have hot cheese sauce. But then when you put it in the fridge, it's going to thicken up even more. The next day,
It will.
you could cut it with a
Yeah.
knife.
Yeah. We really need the tamper, but you guys got the idea.
It's being searched for right now, and hopefully it'll be with us in a minute.
You know, you guys, you tasted the cheese sauce. You can already see on the bottom of this how the bottom part is already cheesy. It's, you know, so even if we can't get it all mixed up tonight, you guys got the idea. And I love this cheese sauce. And depending on how you want to spice it up,
So,
you got it.
when you need to have something for the Super Bowl, but you're trying to eat whatever, plant-based or raw, or whatever you're trying to do more of, you add a little spiciness, and people will like it. A couple ingredients that she chose to give a nice, creamy, mild one tonight, but you can add tahini. That adds a bite a little bit, like a little cheese. If you like a strong cheese, then that's what you would add to your combo.
Thanks. Right size. We'll see.
And then the nutritional yeast is the other thing. Nutritional yeast does have the benefit of the B vitamins. So if you are on a plant-based diet only,
Yeah.
that's a nice way to get some of your B12 and your other B vitamins.
There you go.
It's nice you have both the recipe for the taco meat and the cheesy sauce. I always call them that. I'm not sure what your title is. But it's really good where you just open up a big potato, pour the cheesy sauce over, and then sprinkle that meat on top. That makes it a delicious entree. Question or comment?
Yeah. You're talking about, you're mentioning the nutritional yeast. Which recipe would that go into, and how much of that would you use?
I didn't present a recipe with nutritional yeast tonight, but usually it's about, I don't know, a quarter a cup, I think, in most recipes, in the cheese sauces. I think so, something like that. Give or take, however you like it. The tahini is the same way. Tahini is, I don't like tahini too much, so I usually put 1 tablespoon in my stuff. Other people will make a dressing and use half a cup or 3/4 of a cup. So it's raw food is how you like it. It's just how you like it.
We have a question over here. How long will it last in the refrigerator?
I'm gonna say it doesn't
last very long at your house, does it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So I'm going to say maybe 3 or 4 days is all I would leave it in there for.
Sorry, this will be our last question. We're a little bit over time.
There's some question about tamari versus breads versus soy sauce. Is there a difference between raw and fermented, or why do you use tamari?
Yeah, because I can get it without wheat. The tamari, low sodium, is without wheat. And I try to be gluten-free. So I read ingredients and everything. And so that's why I use tamari.
And to his question, if you're interested in it not being fermented, the Bragg's is not correct. So Bragg's liquid aminos is an alternative that's not fermented.
We can take a few more questions.
Oh, we've been
Give it another
granted
5
a little more time.
If you have questions.
All right, wonderful. Are there some more?
Also, I just wanted to let you know, adding raw food into your diet, I'm not saying be completely raw, but it's such a beneficial benefit for your whole body. Like, I can give you example after example of when, you know, situations have come up, they're sick, they eat raw, they get well. It just happens over and over again, and that's the reason why I add it to my diet so much.
You don't have servings on it.
I know.
So the question is, how many servings for the 3 recipes that we've been given tonight, or the 3 that were demonstrated?
I know. I don't.
So you need to understand that share is one of these precious commodities that we have, and these people who just create on their own. They know the science of food innately, and they throw stuff together, and then we say, will you come show the rest of us how? And okay, so I'll try to write it down on a page. So I find these people, you get the best you can from them. I have a girlfriend very similar from Brazil, amazing food, never has a recipe. See, just give me the list, I'll figure it out. Just give me your ingredients, it was so good, I'll figure it out. So to some extent, that is what you have to do, and that's really the purpose tonight, is to go home and experiment, ladies and gentlemen, because we're coming back in a month, and you need to have some stories to tell of what you figured out at home on the food.
Like the taco meat is 1.5 cups of walnuts. So you can see it's going to be about 1.5 cups. You know, the rest, the ingredients is just to flavor and make it wet enough to blend or to, you know, mix up. Okay?
I love that idea that you just had, to have a sharing time. Or whatever you've experimented with these recipes, we'll have opportunity for somebody to share a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 people. We don't want to make it a super long meeting, but keep that in mind next time. Go home, experiment, play around with stuff.
Yeah, so maybe we'll have a paper or something where everyone can share, but we won't stand up and listen to all of us for 2 hours. But yes, because you know, that's where the real bang for your buck is. You can come and hear recipes, and you can sit down and eat what someone else has made. But if you don't go home and try it and share with your friends and come back and share your successes and failures, then the group effort is really lost. So that's the strength in what we're doing here, and we'll plan for it for next time. Any last words of wisdom from our expert?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I've had vertigo twice in my life. And every time I say, I know what I need to do, I start juicing, I start eating raw, and the vertigo goes away. So that's just an example of how beneficial.
And it's not just with vertigo. We prove it over and over with the immersion program. The thing is, we exhibit different types of disease depending on our own genetics, but the causes are pretty much the same, and so the fix is pretty much the same.
It is. It is.
All right, well, I just want to thank so much. I want to thank you so much, Cher, for being here this evening, for taking your time. She has a very busy life. This was a lot on top of what she's doing right now. And so will you join me in just showing her some appreciation?
Thank you.
And if there are a couple of our assistants that can come and help her while they're doing that, and we can help in just a minute, I'm going to start introducing you to the next person that you've already met. So you met the good doctor, but he didn't tell you who he was. Dr. Mike Hess has brought to Village Church something we have never seen before. It's very rare to have a doctor go around by the name pastor. And he was officially hired as a pastor to come and give worship to my first graders once. Well, not always him, pastors share, but he comes over and gives worship to the kids. And it's not even always on top. In fact, it's a Bible quiz. That's amazing that. But the real thing that God seems to be opening doors for us to help him to hoping that he would come providentially with his family from as far as we can go to the West Coast. And so we just want to stop for a moment and appreciate what we have. I go to my doctor, and sometimes, aren't you lucky to get 10 minutes? And here we have someone taking their time to just invest in us and share what he's has learned mostly above and beyond study tour for the world. Am I right? So I would like you to help me welcome our speaker for the evening, Dr. Mike Hess.
Thank you. And
We need to plug out. Joe's hand is having some troubles.
all right. Well, thank you for that kind introduction. Thank you for the wonderful food. My tummy feels better than when I arrived. That's good. And so tonight I want to share with you a few things. I'll give you a very brief background. My medical training, I actually went to seminary first, and then I went to medical school with the idea of combining physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual healing into one thing, because I think we're not separate things, we're all one thing. That is, we're human beings, and we have all aspects of those things in our life. So I went to medical school at Loma Linda University, and there I met John Kelly, one of my classmates, who went on to become a very famous founder of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. And that was an idea that we cooked up when we were sitting around between classes in medical school, thinking, the real cause of most disease is the way people live. There are accidents and there are genetic things that you get through no fault of your own because you didn't choose your parents. Did anybody here choose their parents? No, okay. So I've yet to meet anyone who's chosen their parents. But anyway, so lifestyle is really the foundation of health. And medicine sometimes is necessary, but really the majority of medications that are prescribed today are prescribed to try to address changes that really should happen at the level of lifestyle, the choices we make, the things that we do and don't do on a daily basis. And so tonight we're going to be talking about the keys of weight management. I found that this is, for some reason, a very popular topic that people always want to hear about, and so we present this occasionally. And it is really important because right now in America, and in fact in the entire sort of Western civilization, obesity is just an epidemic, and there are a lot of contributing factors, and I won't go into all of those. But tonight what I want to do is give you some very, very practical things. If you can grasp and understand and implement the things I'm talking about tonight, it will allow you to manage your weight in a healthy, sustainable way. And I do tell people that changing your weight is one of the hardest things that you can do. And I know that from what I've seen with my patients over the years. I also know that because research shows us that. And I myself have had a challenge with changing my weight, although most of you would probably have some sort of sarcastic comment because I was trying to gain weight. And it took me a number of years to actually gain 10 pounds because I wanted to do it in a healthy way. Okay? So it really is true to make a permanent long-term change in your body weight, either up or down, requires significant change to what you're doing, and you have to put effort into that, and it's not easy. So did everybody get a copy of the handout? It has little blank spots to write things in. So the first one is going to be, the first two things I'm going to talk about are sort of somewhat theoretical, but they're actually really important. They're probably the most important of the 10 things. The first two, if you get those right, you'll figure out the rest of it. If you don't do the first two and you just focus on the others, then it probably won't last. So here we go. The first thing is vision. And some of you know what I mean by that. I don't mean getting good glasses. What I mean is having a vision for your health and what it is that you really want. And so when we're talking about behavior change, any kind of behavior change, but including health-related behaviors, we have to start with why. And so sometimes I have people say, oh, doc, I want to lose weight. Well, why do you want to lose weight? I mean, there's really easy ways to lose weight. You could go for liposuction, or you could just start using meth. Like, you literally, you can. I'm not saying it's, well, there are states now where it's legal. In fact, in Oregon, not too far from where I used to live, they just legalized every drug. It's like, any drug is legal in Oregon. It's kind of weird, but okay, I'm distracting myself. Let's not go down that road. But so if you did start smoking meth, would you be healthy? No. I mean, you would get skinnier and skinnier until you die, but you won't be healthy. So the point is not just losing weight. The point is to be healthy, I hope. You know, some people want to lose weight for social reasons rather than health reasons, because they want to look a certain way to, you know, attract certain friends or things like that. And maybe that's not entirely wrong, but I really think for myself, I think the most important motivators for health behavior change is to be healthy so that you can have a long, happy life doing things that are good and enjoyable and contributing to society and good relationships and all the other physical, mental, and spiritual and emotional things. But that's my reasoning. You have to have your own reasoning, right? If you don't have your own reason, it's going to fail. So start thinking about why. Why is this important to you? And is it really important? Some people start out on a health behavior change because it's important to somebody else. You know, their spouse or their parent nags them, or their child. You know, I've had people that quit smoking because their children nag them, and so they finally quit. But they don't quit for very long. They just quit for little bits of time. It's not lasting until people adopt their own internal motivation. So what is your reason why? Why do you want to have better health? Why do you want to lose weight or gain weight, as the case may be? So start with that. And then, as you're starting to think about why, what is it that you want? And most of the time when people show up to talk about weight loss, they say, I want to lose weight, but there's really underlying reasons why. It's not simply just a desire to lose weight. There's usually levels to that. I had one lady quite a while back, went through one of my classes. She had a very clear reason why. She was 60-something, type 2 diabetic, overweight, out of shape, the whole 9 yards. But she had just gotten custody of her 9-year-old granddaughter. And she's like, I gotta take care of my health, I gotta get in shape. I can't even walk around, I can't go for a walk with my granddaughter. It's horrible. So that was her reason why. And in fact, she got into my metabolic mastery class, and in a matter of 13 weeks, she was doing multiple push-ups. She was running around the yard chasing her granddaughter, which was like they were playing tag. And so I was like, okay, you're on your way. You have your motivation, your reason why, and it's incredible to see how people can change when they get that motivation dialed in. So why? What is it that you want? The underlying thing underneath change in weight or whatever. And then imagine what it would be like. So in the case of that lady, one of the things we did in the beginning was we asked people to imagine if they were in their ideal state of health, what would their life be like? And that's one of the things she thought about. She imagined going for hikes with her granddaughter and being able to play and run around the yard with her granddaughter. And she imagined it, and then she got to work to do the steps to bring that vision into reality. And so we don't have time to go into a whole class on this topic tonight, but it's really important. If you don't have a passionate reason why, you're not actually going to make the change, because you're going to, drive by McDonald's and go, oh, they have fans to blow the aroma out to the street. So when you drive by or walk by, you can smell it. And it always smells good, and then when you eat it, it's not really that good. You know what I'm talking about, right? So you have to have your reason why it has to be solid. Now, the second thing we talk about is adopt a new identity. Adopt a new identity. And what do I mean by that? Well, so for example, when we help people to quit smoking, a lot of people that smoke become addicted to cigarettes or tobacco, and they desire to quit, but they can't quit, and so they ask for help. And so sometimes what happens is people become smokers that are trying to quit. Have you ever met one? Somebody that's trying to quit, and you could be like that for years and years. I've had patients for 20 years that are trying to quit smoking. And what they are in their head is a smoker that's trying to quit smoking. So as long as you think of yourself as a smoker that's trying to quit smoking, you're going to be a smoker that's trying to quit smoking. You follow? Okay. So the same thing applies in other areas of health. So for example, some people, I want to be sensitive to the reality, and I've already said I realize that we're talking about one of the most difficult things that a person can do. And also, for many people, there's a lot of emotional pain involved in all of this. And we'll talk more about that in a second. But sometimes what happens is people kind of settle into adopting the identity of who they kind of became, even though that's not who they wanted to be. You know what I mean? So often that means accepting the so-called reality of the limitations. So sometimes people think of themselves as, well, I'm just a middle-aged fat woman, and that's just the way it is. Well, as long as you think of yourself that way, that's the way it is. So a lot of people have that image of themselves, and then they think, I'm going to try to change. I got to go on a diet, and I'm going to lose weight. But they're still thinking, like, I'm a fat person that's struggling to lose weight. And indeed they are, and they go on yo-yo diet, the whole routine. People go on like that for years and years. So I suggest to people, rather than having that sort of experience in identity, to change that identity and adopt a better identity. I had a young man that I knew, and he was kind of a chubby little kid. He always, pretty much every time I saw him, he had a soda in one hand and a lollipop in the other. And you can imagine his health was not the greatest, but his parents, I would talk to his parents and say, hey, you gotta not let him do this. We can't help it because he gets it at school and his friends and this, and that's all he'll eat. And okay, what can you do? Well, an amazing thing happened when he got into 8th grade. He decided he wanted to be a wrestler. And not only that he wanted to be a wrestler, he actually joined the wrestling team, and he was a wrestler. And in his head, he was a wrestler. Well, what do wrestlers do? Wrestlers work out. Have anybody here ever known any wrestlers? Back in junior high or high school? Most of those guys are pretty hardcore. They work out hard. And they work out usually twice a day. And so this young man, he joined the track team in order to get in shape for wrestling. And he quit eating junk, he quit drinking sodas, and he just ate meat and potatoes and vegetables. Now, I don't recommend that as an ideal diet, but it was definitely way better than soda and lollipops, okay? And in a matter of a year, he actually progressed quite rapidly in wrestling. He went to the state semifinals, and he got an award for the most improved athlete of the year at his school. And it wasn't because his parents nagged him. It wasn't because he said, oh, I have to be, I have to eat this and I have to do that. It was because he wanted to do that, because that's how he identified as being that. You follow what I'm saying? So here's an interesting little tidbit. This is not a religious meeting per se, but any of you that are familiar with Christianity will know that Jesus said, you must be born again. And I'm going to tell you that is the ultimate change of our identity when we are born again and we become new people. And so if you're struggling with some aspect of your behavior, particularly health behavior that we're talking about tonight, you're going to have to embrace a new identity. Choose to be an athlete, or choose to be something, choose to be that healthy person. So this connects back to your vision, right? So for me, my vision is that I am the athletic sort of survivalist old man, grandpa, that I'm going to be teaching my great grandkids how to survive out in the woods when I'm 90 years old. That's my vision for myself. Which means, what do? Well, I do lots of things. Not because, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, but it's my vision of this is who I am. So I do crazy stuff. I run around in the woods in the winter, when most people are sitting by the stove, looking for hot soup and whatever. But you understand what I'm talking about? That vision, and connect that with your new identity. And then the next thing with that is, even when you adopt a new identity, it turns out that most of us have some leftover residue from our old identity. And you have to figure out how to deal with that. So sometimes that leftover residue is emotional baggage from the past. Has anybody in here ever heard of emotional eating? 3, 4, 5 of you have heard of it. Okay, so it's an actual thing where you want to feel good. And does it feel good to eat good food? Yeah, it does. And so, you have some emotional struggle or pain, but you like to feel good, so you eat. And it kind of feels good. And this can get really extreme. In fact, I had one lady who was just struggling with trying to lose weight and changing her diet. And she just didn't seem to be able to stop herself from eating, especially desserts. Like ice cream was her thing. Like she would just, the boss at work might say something that didn't make her feel good, and she'd stop on the way home and buy a quart of ice cream and just eat ice cream. And so we had a few talks, and then one day we were just talking about life, and so I asked, I don't know why I did this, but I just asked her, like, when's the first time you remember eating ice cream? And she's like, oh, my grandma would give me ice cream because my grandpa was mean and grandma was nice to me, and she would give me ice cream to try to make up for grandpa being mean. And I felt loved when grandma was feeding me ice cream. I'm like, we have some deeper work to do. Like this whole thing about losing, like don't even worry about losing weight until we figure out how we can bring some emotional healing, and then the changing the habit is going to be a lot easier. But until you address that power, that emotional power of stuff from the past, it can be really, really hard to change those habits. So, not everybody's going to have that heavy of stuff, but some people do, and some people have a lot. And if that's you, then maybe you might need to get some help to address some of that emotional stuff rather than just beating yourself up because you can't lose weight. because you have to address that. And so I just call this, the residue of your old identity, whether that's, the fat girl that nobody likes, or whether it's the, oh, I'm the nerdy guy, or the, the victim of whatever trauma it was. I don't know. There could be lots of things, and it's probably a little different for everybody. But we have to address that if you're going to move forward in a meaningful and consistent long-term way. Okay? So, that's some pretty heavy-duty stuff there. But these are, like I said, these two issues, the thing about having a vision for where you want to go and who you want to be, and then actually adopting that identity and dealing with the baggage and things that try to keep you connected to the old identity. Those things really, really need to be addressed. Now, the rest of the things we're going to talk about are more of probably what you were expecting, like the little secret, what to eat and when to eat and all that kind of stuff. Okay? Exercise. I have a question. Now, those of you that have been in my other classes before, give the other people a chance, okay?
Okay.
What's the best kind of exercise?
See, you didn't even have to say it out loud.
Okay, I heard several people say walking, and then you said something else? Rebounding? What? Yeah, so I heard the right answer over here. Yeah, the best kind of exercise is the exercise that you actually do. Okay? You follow that? The perfect exercise that you don't do is not going to benefit you at all. So, mediocre exercise or even a horrible exercise that you do some of will help you more than a perfect exercise that just doesn't happen. Okay, so that being said, I think of exercise very much like food. Okay, so if I were to ask you what's the best food, we could throw out lots of different ideas, but the reality is it's not really ideal to eat just one food. And probably exercise is kind of like that. We shouldn't do just one exercise. We should do lots of things. Variety is good and it's healthy. So we're not going to go deep into all the different types of exercises and different programs and all that. We would run out of time and probably bore you to death. But exercise, if you're looking to lose weight, you probably need to be exercising 5 or 6 days a week. It needs to be a daily thing. Now, how much? There's a lot of evidence for this. A half hour of moderate high intensity exercise or an hour of low to moderate intensity exercise. So an hour of a very brisk walk or a half hour of running, something like that. And of course it doesn't have to be walking and running. It could be swimming, it could be rowing, it could be rebounding, it can be lifting weights, doing calisthenics, combinations of all those things. But this is for overall health. These numbers here from the Institute of Medicine, and it's been affirmed over and over again with major studies over the last probably 30 or 40 years. And collecting all that data, this is the general amount of exercise that is ideal for general health. And also, it's no different for losing weight. So, if you want to add more low-intensity exercise, so just walking, you can just walk. You could walk for hours, and that would actually help to lose more weight because you're burning calories, which is part of how exercise helps. A caveat here, since I put up this 30 minutes of high intensity exercise, just today I was talking to one of my patients who is this young lady who came to see me first probably about 6 months ago. She was very interested in losing weight, and she wanted to get on some kind of hormonal treatment or something to help her lose weight. Well, thankfully I was able to dissuade her from that. She did have a few medical issues that we had to address, but she was so gung-ho that she was going to lose weight that she started running. Well, the problem is she was probably, I don't remember exactly, probably 80 pounds overweight or something. And so what happens if you haven't exercised for a long time, and you're 80 pounds overweight, and you decide to start running? Well, she ended up with plantar fasciitis after the first week. And so then she could barely walk. So thankfully we were able to get that under control, and now she walks a lot and she jogs just a little bit, and she's building up to it. So this is what I want to caution you. If you're serious about losing weight and you're going to do that, don't start with that. Okay, start with walking a little bit. Something that's easy to do so that you can do it every day. So if you go to the gym and you work out for an hour and you can't move for a week because you're so sore, you did too much. Start with something little, something easy that you can do every day for a week, and then increase it a little bit. And pretty soon you'll get to the point where, like, oh, okay, that's about as much as I can do, and still do it again the next day. Right? So it's better to start on the low side and build up than to start going out the gate too hard and hurt yourself and end up, not being able to exercise. Does that make sense? So the exercise is critically important, but you got to start on the low side and be consistent. So it's that daily consistency matters more than the intensity or what the exercise is. Exercise before breakfast is going to help the most for weight loss. The reason for that is you're in a fasted state, your blood sugar level is going to be lowest, and then when you start exercising, your body's going to have to start burning fat to create energy to sustain that exercise. Whereas if you eat and then exercise, that's a lot less likely to happen. So exercising in the morning before breakfast if weight loss is your goal. If weight gain is your goal, then a lot of these things you do just the opposite. So if you're trying to gain weight, you might not want to work out when you're fasted. You might want to, a lot of guys will talk about a pre-workout meal, and it's like, you have to be careful not eating too close to your workouts, and that's a different thing. But for the general idea for weight loss, before breakfast is going to be the most efficient. Now, we're going to talk about food. By the way, I'm going to say the two major pillars for weight loss have to do with nutrition and exercise. And a lot of people will ask, which is more important? And I'll just ask you, which is more important, your heart or your lungs? Both. You kind of need both, okay? So it is with health in general and managing weight. You have to have exercise and you have to have nutritional habits lined out. Now, there might be a few exceptions to that, but don't plan on being one of them, okay? Because it's not going to happen. So you need both. Interestingly, the studies on this have shown that short-term weight loss is more correlated with nutritional change, but long-term maintenance of weight loss is more correlated with regular exercise. And I would say, hey, if you want to lose weight, you probably want both short-term and long-term. So do both. All right? So we're going to go on to talking about food. So eliminate. I'm going to give you one of the big secrets. Eliminate processed foods. Okay? And I'm not talking about processed foods like what we had tonight, where she put that food in a food processor and blended it, and then we ate it. I mean, like, you know what I mean? It's been through a factory, and it comes in a package, eat less of that or just eliminate it. Yeah, eat less of anything that went through a factory, you're going to be on the right track, okay? So eliminate processed foods and eliminate fake foods. What do I mean by fake foods? I personally, I have this aversion to fake stuff, and sometimes my daughter and I have little conversations about what's fake and what's just a different way of doing things. But I'm going to tell you, fake food, if they make it in a factory, okay, if it says artificial coloring, flavoring, calorie-free, sweeteners, I mean, if God didn't make it to grow, you shouldn't be putting it in your body. Just don't. And here's the thing, for almost 40 years, there was this idea that calorie-free sweeteners were going to fix the obesity problem, because you could get Diet Coke, right? It had no calories. And theoretically, you would think that if there's no calories, then you'll lose weight. But the reality, when they actually do the research and find out that people that drink those no-calorie diet drinks actually gain more weight than people who drink regular sugar drinks. So just don't. So get rid of all of that artificial everything. Coloring, flavoring, and sweeteners especially are. And now there's even evidence that a lot of the artificial sweeteners actually do cause cancer, which they said for many years they didn't, but now there's a couple of big studies that show they probably do. Question?
Vegalinks.
Vegalinks. Okay. Vegalinks are fake meat. Are they real food? I don't know. They're definitely processed. Okay? They're definitely processed. So, yeah, you probably shouldn't be eating those if you're trying to lose weight. And even if you're not trying to lose weight, you probably shouldn't eat very much of that. I don't think we have any stock in Vegalinks, do we? So it's okay for me to say that. Anyway, yeah, just, I mean, if you eat 1 or 2 a year, it's not going to kill you, but really you shouldn't be eating that junk, okay? And that applies both to Vegalinks and to the regular hot dog processed meat items. Those are horrible. So don't eat that stuff. All right. Now, this is a real tricky... Oh, you had another question? Over here?
Yeah, the guy.
Question?
I was just going to say that Impossible Burgers would fall under that category too.
Yeah, so it's processed, right? The more processed it is, the less of it you should eat, as a general rule of thumb. So even if it's got good ingredients in there, but it's like you don't recognize that, move away from that. Move away from it. Yeah. Okay, this one, that's it. Eat less. Just eat less. Like tonight, we were given 1 plate of food. Well, okay, eat your plate of food and then stop. I've seen some people who tell me, oh, I probably shouldn't say this.
He has to.
I'm in a quandary now. Okay, I'm going to say it anyway, but promise not to tell anybody, okay? Because I don't want anybody to feel weird. I have had people tell me, not anybody in this church, I'll just clarify that, not anybody in this church, but some other places where I've been, I've had people tell me, I hardly eat anything, I don't understand why I can't lose weight. And then I go to a meal with them and they eat 3 times as much as I do. And you think, that you call that hardly anything? And you can't lose weight? Well, it's because you're eating way too much. Right? So you understand what I'm saying? Like, you don't need to fill up your plate 4 times. You know, if you're a skinny teenager and you're trying to gain weight, maybe. But the rest of us, we don't need to do that. And so actually eat less. And I know it seems kind of strange to say that, but here's another surprising fact. It's okay to be hungry. You will not die if you're hungry for a few hours. And in fact, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're feeling hungry, that's a signal your body is telling you, hey, if you don't eat something, I'm going to have to burn fat. And we're saving that for the time of trouble or the famine or whatever. So we don't want to do that. So eat something. That's what your body is telling you. And if you tell your body, hey, I have made an executive decision that it's time for us to lose a little bit of weight, and so burn some fat instead of going and eating, then your body will indeed burn fat. So it's okay to be hungry. This connects. I got a quick story. Oh man, I'm going to run out of time. Okay, I'm going to hurry. Listen fast, okay? I knew a guy one time who had issues with his marriage because he would get mad at his wife if food wasn't ready when he got home from work. And they got into marriage counseling, and then what he figured out, to make a long story short, what he figured out was he got mad because he thought his wife didn't love him if there wasn't food, because he grew up in a house with addicts and he didn't have food to eat when he was a kid. And so he determined that he would never be hungry again in his life. And then when his wife didn't have food ready, he had this emotional trigger. Right? So when he figured that out, he was able to say, oh, actually, my wife does love me, and I won't die if I'm hungry, and it's okay to be hungry. And he was able to say no and started losing weight after that. So
how long did the transformation?
It's okay to be hungry. What was the question?
How long did the transformation take in this gentleman? 2 weeks, 6 weeks?
Transformation of what?
His mindset to really, that for God to heal his.
That particular situation, I do not know. I think, remember from hearing him talk about it, I would guess it was probably several months of processing that information. So, yeah. So, it's okay to be hungry. You're not going to die from being hungry. Okay? Next one. I already said this, I think. Fill your plate or bowl only once. So generally, that's really all you need for any given meal. Yes, sir?
In the last month, I heard on CDs Ron and Nancy Rocky talking about that very issue.
Okay.
He was just gung-ho that his food wasn't ready.
Yeah.
He was talking about having to overcome that as he realized his wife did love him.
Yeah.
And he didn't have to throw a fit and scream and yell.
Right.
He was ignored by his parents as a child.
Yeah. So, there we go. All right. Eat more fiber-rich whole plants, foods. I should say whole foods, whole plant foods. Anyway, dietary fiber just comes in plants. So if you're eating processed foods, if you're eating meat and dairy, it doesn't contain dietary fiber. It just has lots of calories. And so eating more plant foods not only gives you, like what we had today was very high in all sorts of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, phytonutrients of all kinds, anti-cancer chemicals in there. When you eat processed foods, so somebody was just telling me about somebody that just likes to eat crackers. They like to eat Ritz crackers, like a whole tube of them, a couple of them. I'm like, there's not much real nutritive value in there other than starch. Okay, so if you're starving to death, and that'll keep you from starving, but you're losing out on all the other good stuff that God put in those plants for us to eat. And if you want to keep track, if you're trying to lose weight, you should be aiming for about 40 grams a day or more of fiber intake. And I'll say the same thing I did about exercise. Maybe don't do that all in one day at the beginning. Like build up to it over a period of a couple of weeks. Give your system a chance to adjust. But that fiber will help to actually fill you up and help to keep you from feeling more hungry than necessary. And usually along with it, if it's with whole plant foods, it's going to have a lot of other good stuff there. So do that. And breakfast, you've all heard this before probably, like a king, lunch like a prince, and supper like a pauper. Everybody understand what that means? Most of your calories should be at breakfast. because you're fueling up for the day, right? And then what are you doing after supper? You're going to bed. So just imagine you get a big load of fuel for your body to process and you go to bed. What's your body going to do with that fuel? It's going to put it into storage. And I think most of us have an intuitive sense that it's easier to put it in storage than to get it out. So eating most of the calories early in the day for breakfast and lunch, and then supper, really honestly, if you're actually trying to lose a significant amount of weight, supper really is optional. And you probably better just to leave it off until you get to your goal weight. All right, do not eat between meals. And I know some people just have to have snacks. Well, I'm going to tell you, if you feel like you have to have snacks, it's just because you've gotten in the habit of it and you've trained your body to expect it. And you can just as easily train your body not to expect it. I recommend, if you're trying to break a snacking habit, we'll go to the next one. Drink water. Okay, so if you eat a healthy, balanced breakfast, you should not need a snack halfway through the morning. If you need a snack halfway through the morning, you either didn't have a healthy, balanced breakfast or there's something else wrong with you. Okay, probably you're just in a habit. So drink water instead of getting, a pick-me-up, candy bar, or some kind of, bag of chips or whatever else it is. Get rid of all that stuff. Just drink water. And what else should you drink? Nothing else. Just drink water. So you eat meals, you eat food at meal times, you drink water in between meals, and don't drink anything else. Now, so I'm not opposed to drinking fruit juices and things like that, but I will tell you that is a little process, isn't it? And if you're trying to lose weight, it's going to be more concentrated calories with the fiber removed. So generally reduce even the amount of natural, fresh juice if you're trying to lose weight. Keep that to a limit.
Flavored water.
Flavored water. Yeah. Flavored with what? Artificial flavors? Artificial sweeteners? So, okay, so a quick thing. So if you're gonna flavor your water, say you're gonna put in a little slice of lime in there.
Like if you weigh 100 pounds.
You have to do math.
If you weigh 100 pounds, then you want 6 ounces of water.
Okay. That's an interesting theory. Yeah.
6 to 8 glasses a day.
8 glasses.
How big a glass? Specific.
Okay. Our medical professional up here is telling us the real answer. Okay. So those numbers that are out there are kind of very rough ballpark estimate, and it depends on a lot of factors of how much exercise are you doing, how much are you sweating, because it's hot outside, is the air conditioner on, are you inside in the winter with a fireplace and the air is so dry it's sucking the water out of you, what else there's so many variables. So the general rule of thumb is that your urine should be clear most of the time, and if it's clear most of the time, you're probably getting adequate amount of water. If it's always yellow or darker colored, then you're not getting enough water. So, you
can drink too much, and then
you can't drink too much. That's true. So if your urine is perfectly clear all the time, and you have other health issues going on, you're drinking 3 gallons of water a day, that might be too much. It might not be. Depends on the situation, but yeah, we don't want to overdo it on the other side.
What about electrolytes if one does that?
Electrolytes are minerals that come in your food.
Well,
Yeah, so you can drink water, and in fact, the water around here has minerals in it, if you haven't noticed. So, yeah. All right, last meal. Where am I at here? Oh, I think we're only going to be a few minutes over. Okay. Eat your last meal early, ideally at least 3 hours before going to bed. Reason being that when your stomach is full, well, we already mentioned the metabolic thing about eating and then going to bed and all that, but then the other thing that happens is if you eat before going to bed, your stomach is working, or your gut is digesting that food, and that actually interferes with your sleep, melatonin production, and things like that. So then you don't sleep as well, and then you were planning to get up and exercise before breakfast, but you didn't sleep well, so you sleep in, and then you skip breakfast, and then it sets up this whole bad cascade of things. So there's actually a lot of research now that the longer the time between your last meal and bedtime, the more likely you are to be able to lose weight. And so I say 3 hours. I think you get the most benefit by that 3 hours. Some people now, intermittent fasting is super cool, but Adventists have been teaching this for 140 years now, that 2 meals a day is good unless you're doing heavy physical labor and you need more energy, then 3 meals a day is fine. But if you're an office worker, then you're trying to lose weight, the 2 meals a day is probably a better plan. All right, so there we have it. And there you go. If you really want results, do all of those things that we just talked about. If you do all those things, you'll get the results. And if you need help, if you're trying and it's not working, well, get help. Reach out. Let us know. We do have ongoing programs. As you know, we're going to have this program once a month. We have our Sunday support. We have our immersion program, which is an intensive 10-day, all day, every day, like reset for your health. We have the metabolic mastery program, which is evenings and weekends, and it works around work schedules better. And we have other things we can do to help as well. So, if you want to reach out to us, you probably all know the church phone number already. Also, you can send us email at villagesda.church@gmail.com. And what I would like to do, I'd like for you to think about what topics would you like to hear about. Anything in health related and or food related. Shoot us an email. Give us suggestions. We're putting together this schedule. I want to get the schedule booked out for a year and kind of keep that going so we can plan ahead. So let us know what you're interested in. By the door out here on your way out, if you would like to make a donation to help cover the cost of the food, there's a box right there. You can do that. I felt like that was pretty good food. I think if I went to a restaurant, that'd probably be a $30 plate. I don't normally go to those kind of restaurants, but you know what I'm talking about. That was good stuff. So anyway, if you can't donate, that's totally fine. We're glad you're here. Don't worry about it. But if you're able to help out, we appreciate it. And what else? The Sunday support next month. If you want us to notify you so that you can register, and we do ask, as always, if you're going to come and eat with us, there's not going to be a charge for it. At least that's our plan right now. But we do want to know ahead of time how many people are expecting to eat so that we can get the right amount of food and have it prepared so we're not having people showing up and not getting to eat. Okay? Is that fair enough? So if you just want to show up and listen to the lecture or grab the handout, you don't have to register for that. But I would encourage you, if this has been helpful for you, think about registering next time. Invite a friend to come with you. It'll be fun. We do have room for, I think, probably 60 more people here. So we do have room for more people. And I think it'd be great if we filled this whole place. But we'll see how it goes. All right, and that's the end of the program. Do we have any final questions before we wrap up? Yes.
When it comes to tofu, is it similar process?
To what food?
When it comes to tofu,
Tofu?
process?
Yeah, so tofu is one of those sort of, yes, it's processed. If you want unprocessed tofu, then just eat soybeans. It's not tofu, it's soybeans. Like I had for lunch today, we had some edamame, which is minimally, cooked soybeans in the pot, right? But tofu is one of those things where it's processed, it's relatively concentrated calorically, and so if you are trying to lose weight, you shouldn't be eating a lot of tofu. There's quite a bit of calories in that concentrated food. And so in general, yeah, tofu is okay, but it is processed, so eat less of that for most people. Yes, sir.
Well, I'd like to point out that with soybeans, especially tofu, you hardly have not just the calories condensed, but there are hormones in that bean that will also affect your ability to.
That's true. There are some phytoestrogens and things like that. It turns out the research is showing that they don't have as big of an effect as people have thought for a while. But it's a good thing to not, like I said, you don't want to just eat soybeans all the time. Like that's not a balanced diet. We want a variety of things. So eating soybeans sometimes, unless you're allergic to it or something, is going to be fine. But we don't want to make that a main article of food, probably for most people. Do you see another hand over here? Yes.
When going hungry, you're not burning the glucose, you're burning the fat. Ketosis, is that okay long term?
Is what
Ketosis?
Ketosis. I feel like that could be an entire lecture.
Okay, never mind.
The quick answer is ketosis is not a healthy state of being. So for short periods of time, it's going to happen. But as far as like planning to live in that state for long periods of time, it's not really ideal. All right, well, I think that's it. I'll be around here for a few minutes if people have questions. I just want to have a prayer again as you leave. So lift our heads briefly. Heavenly Father, thank you for the way that you have made us. You've given us so many wonderful things to eat and things to do. Lord, I pray that each person that's here tonight would be blessed, and as they go, that, Lord, help them to be able to implement the things that they need to improve their own health and well-being, whether that be in the physical, mental, or spiritual realm. And give us all safety in our travels home this evening, and may we have a good month until we come back together again. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.